Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and I'd like to welcome you to my lecture. This is the introductory lecture for the senior capstone course in the fall of 2016. This is the online edition, section 201. And what I'm showing right now on my screen is the index page for our weekly schedule. And the weekly schedule is a website that I maintain that keeps an up-to-date copy of all the information about the course, what the assignments are. Um, well, in fact, we're just going to take a look at the schedule in just a minute. So I've given you several links in the emails that I've sent so far, and there's a link on our D2L site to this weekly schedule. Probably something you're going to want to bookmark. Okay, and let's just take a peek here. Right now, I just have the schedule up for week one. I've got a busy week ahead of me to populate the rest of it. And what you see here is that there is a box, sort of a table for each of the categories of work that have to be done in the week coming. So the first one, every Thursday, I'm going to be holding online office hours. And online office hours are kind of a fairly new idea. I've been doing them for about a year now. And the idea is in my online courses, I really want to have the opportunity every week to talk with my students. And I want to be on, I want to have some kind of a format for doing that. So as an optional session, I create these online office hours, and ours is going to be on Thursday from 6:30 to 7:30. And we're going to talk about the important things of the day. If there was an assignment from the previous week, we'll go over the answers, the solutions to that assignment. And I'm going to look for whoever attends the session to show us their solution, and then I'll show mine too. If we had a quiz the week before, we'll go over the answers to the quiz. And then you'll have all kinds of questions. You'll have questions about your project, forming your project teams, all that kind of stuff. And I have found, especially for this course, that that being here to talk about this each week really adds a lot of value for you and for me. Okay, so one thing I started to do it over the summer, is I started recording online office hours. There are people who have commitments that keep them from attending a particular session or other, but they'd still like to know what we talked about. And my plan is that I'll probably post the recording, which would be a video, the next day. Okay, I usually don't have the time to do it the same night, although sometimes I will. But typically by the next day, I'll be able to do it. Since this is an online course, the week is going to run from Monday morning through Sunday night. And so each week, at the very end of the night on Sunday night, there's a weekly assignments deadline. It's at 11:55 p.m. Okay. And of course, you're to complete your work for the week by that time, which includes things like readings, watching recorded videos, posting on D2L forums, that kind of stuff. Taking quizzes. We're going to have some quizzes as part of the course too. So let's just look at this. I want to back up. So we are going to have an online office hours this Thursday from 6:30 to 7:30 on September 8th. So I hope you can join us. Okay. And then the work for this week, we want you to read the syllabus. Okay. And we're going to do two big things in the course: introducing ourselves, and we're going to work on forming a vision for the project that you're going to do. Okay, so how's that going to work? Well, in terms of introducing yourself, because it's an online course, we have a form for you to do that on. So we have a class participation assignment due, introduce yourself, and I've got the details here, including the forum that I'd like you to post to and what I'd like you to post there. And then I've also got another forum post assignment for the week called Share Your Project Vision. And based upon the lecture that I'm going to have you watch, I'm going to expect you to have enough information to be able to do that post. And again, when are they due? Well, they're due at the end of the week, Sunday at 11:55 p.m. Okay, and then I have two recorded videos for you. This one, the course introduction and syllabus review, and the lecture that relates to the project vision, which is called Forming a Project Vision. So I want you to watch this. Obviously, if you're watching, you're already watching. But then I'd like to also have you watch the lecture, Forming a Project Vision. And the videos that I do are all these Camtasia types where you're going to see what's on my computer and you're going to hear my voice. Okay? So if we go back to the index for the schedule, you'll see that we have in a calendar, in the fall calendar here at UWM, we've got 16 weeks in the schedule. And so far I've populated week 1. I'm going to populate the rest of the weeks, hopefully within this next week. Every time I populate more content into the schedule, I will announce it on the news part of our D2L, and I'll send you an email with a copy of whatever I post in news. So as long as you check your email, you'll know what's up there without having to check back over and over again. Okay, so that's our stuff. The course, I think the best way to get an introduction to the course is to go through the syllabus. Of course, I have a link to the syllabus in this week 1 schedule, so why don't we click through on that. And you'll see that, of course, it's a senior capstone. And I see here that I have something to correct here. It says spring 2016. It should say fall 2016. So I'll be publishing an update on that. Sorry about that. 49201 meets online. Okay. Here's the information on me, Kevin Trainer. Here's my email address. Here's my mobile phone. It's the only phone that I use. I don't use the phone that's in my office. I don't even know what the number is. And I don't really use my home landline phone. I don't even know what the number to that is either. I've been giving out my mobile number to students for about 10 years, and they haven't worn me out yet, so I keep giving it out. So if you need me, call me. My office, which is in the SOAS offices on the 3rd floor, is 3472. It's not too far from the main office, which I call the nurses' station. And I'm going to be there on Tuesdays and Thursdays this semester. So those are the days that I'll be on campus. The rest of the days I'll be working from home. I pretty much work from home every day of the week. some part of the day. So if you need to talk to me, you can send me an email. You can call me if I can't talk then. We'll arrange for me to call you back or you to call me back at some more appropriate time. Okay? I've already talked about online office hours. I invite you to read this. There's a link for you to click through on that takes you to the GoToMeeting platform and to the meeting that we're going to use for our online office hours. There's also a copy of that in each week of our project schedule, so you can find your way there pretty easily. The description of the course. This course is a capstone. It's a culminating experience for your BSIST program. Okay? And it's comprised of the following things. We're going to do a project in a group. Okay? And this is going to be different from the projects you've already done in some ways and the same in others. It's going to be the same in that I really want you to be able to take the skills that you've learned in your program and incorporate them into a solution for a real client. Okay, so it's the same because we're going to be building on the skills that you've learned in the program. It's different in that we're doing it with a real client. It may be different for you because we're doing this in a team. This is the only class I teach where we actually hand in work that gets graded as a team. In most of my other classes, we have some team opportunities for study groups and things. And I know you guys have a general aversion to team projects, but this is it. It's going to be team projects out in the real world, and this is to one, to get you ready for that, and two, to give you a part of your portfolio that you can point to and talk about with prospective employers, where you say you did a team project and you did a project that is the culmination of the work you did in your program, and here it is. This is what it looks like. Okay, so that's our main goal. While we're doing that, we're going to teach you about project management, and we're going to teach you about a number of developer tools and practices. Probably the most easy to identify is version control using Git. Okay, we're going to teach a bunch of other related things, but that's the big thing. Okay, so that's a general idea about the course. Let's go through the rest of the syllabus. There are 2 textbooks. The first one is Agile Project Management for Dummies. And I don't mean that as a comment on my students. I've read a bunch of books on this agile approach to project management, and this is the one I like the best. This is the one that gets probably the best reviews for beginners on Amazon. Okay, so it just happens to be the Dummies book, and I apologize for that, but that's it. You should have a copy of that book available by the beginning of week 2. Okay, no readings in that book in week 1. Get it for week 2. I don't know if it's available through the bookstore, but it's certainly available from Amazon and the publisher. It's available as a paperback. It's available as an ebook. The ebook you typically can buy and start to read in a half hour, right? So no reason that you shouldn't have the book for week 2. The second book that we're going to read is the version that I'm going to recommend to you is electronic. It's about the Git version control system, and it's called Pro Git. And it has a Creative Commons license, and it's available online. And I have a link here for you to access it. And I have a printed copy of this book, and I used to refer to the printed copy all the time. I don't refer to the printed copy anymore. I think probably I've got the version 1, but it's not the second versus the first edition that's the real issue. It's that I'm always on the run, and having a book that I can refer to, that I can open up on my laptop or open up on my iPad. It's just what I've come to prefer. So yeah, you can buy a copy of this from A Press. Probably costs you about $30-40, or you can use the free e-version, which I highly recommend. Let's talk about software, okay? We're going to be using a lot of software in the course, but exactly the software that you're going to be using is going to depend upon what you do in your project, okay? But I can tell you some certain things that are going to be included no matter what, okay? One is that we're going to be working with a SOS web space. So this is your SOS cPanel account, okay? So if you haven't logged into yours in a while, log into it, okay? We're going to be making a lot of use of it. In addition, when we're for teams, each team is going to get its own SOS web space. This is going to give you the opportunity to choose that as your development environment. You don't have to. You can do it. You can develop, add some ISP if you want to, but it's going to be there. All right, but the part you're going to do with your web space, we're going to do, for instance, a lot of learning exercises with Git. And to do that, you're going to need to be able to access your web space. Okay? So you'll be finding out some more about that in the weeks to come. As I mentioned previously, we're using the Agile approach to project management, which is a pretty lightweight approach to managing a project. And there's a piece of software that we've been using now for about 3 years. This, I guess, the third academic year that we've been using it. It's called Jira Agile, and it's a piece of software that you can use for tracking Agile software development projects. And the people who publish it, Atlassian Software, have been nice enough to give us a free copy of it for our use. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be inviting all of you to join our Jira Agile server that I have for us at SOS. And I'm going to be setting up projects for your teams, and we're going to be using that to track our projects. And so you're going to be learning about that, okay? More to come on that. And then the last thing has to do with Git, okay? And I'm going to assign some pretty concrete things related to Git in week 2. But Git is a version control system. It's largely free, okay? There's a server that we're going to use. We're probably going to use this server at Atlassian Software, which is... their server is called Bitbucket, so we're probably going to be using that. The clients are pretty much free, and there is a really good client that Atlassian Software has called Sourcetree. And I've been using Sourcetree on the Mac now for about a year and a half. Some people who've been working with me have been using the Windows version. It's a little bit different than the Mac version. So Sourcetree is something that I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to use and learn, and we are entitled to get a free copy of that. You because you're students, and me because I'm faculty. Well, not technically faculty, but faculty in the more general sense. So we're going to use that. It's also true that there's some Git software that has to be installed on every machine that you use it on, and that's free as well. Okay, so more details coming with respect to Git, but if you wanted to peek ahead, you might look for the Sourcetree software from Atlassian Software. That might be something you can install on your PC even before I get the instructions up. But instructions to come in week 2. Okay? So let's talk about the objectives. So the course objectives are really a list of objectives that I have for you, things that I want you to be able to do by the end of the course. Okay, so here they are. Demonstrate the skills acquired during the BIST program in systems analysis, programming, database development, web design, and web development as part of a small project team that creates a computer application for a real-world client. Okay, so that's the big picture. I want you to be able to explain the benefits of Agile project management. It's part of what we're going to learn from the latent text. I want you to demonstrate Agile project management techniques in a small team project. That's the project that you and your team are going to do. I'd like you to explain the benefits of source code version control, products like Git. Okay? And you're going to be able to learn that from the Git book, ProGit, and from from lectures and tutorials that I do. And I'd like you to be able to demonstrate source code version control techniques in a small team project. So I would like you to use a version control in your project. I'd like you to be able to write a summary project report for a small team project. So there is a written report for your project, and all of you are expected to contribute to that. And there's a video presentation for your project, and all of you are expected to contribute to that. So those are the things that I expect you to be able to do when the course is over. I expect you to be able to have done all of those things. And of course, the things you have to learn are the things you have to learn in order to do those things. Instructional methods. There are readings. There are recorded lectures. This is one. There's a discussion. Online discussion is going to happen 2 ways. One way is going to be by posting to the forums, and the other way is going to be by coming to and participating in the online office hours on Thursday evenings. There'll be quizzes. The quizzes, for the most part, are about the latent text. Okay? I not only want you to be able to do this Agile project management, I want to be able to I want to be sure that you can talk the talk as well as walk the walk. So there's not a whole lot to learn, but it's we're going to make sure you learn it. And there's, of course, the project report, and the video presentation. The video presentation is a lot of fun. This is where you really get to show off your work. Okay, prerequisites. Let's hope you have them. 340 and 410. The schedule. The schedule is, let's see, week one's up. The rest of the weeks will be up in about a week. The way to get to the schedule is to click through on one of these links. And I don't know why I can't click through on this. If you click through on that, you should get to our schedule. There's something about the client I'm using right now that is not going to that. Okay, well, that's a shame. Okay, but you've already seen that. That's where we came from. Okay? One thing I want to ask you to do when you go to the weekly schedule is, and every time I send you an email that I've updated the schedule, I remind you about this. For some reason, in some browsers, you need to refresh the browser page to see the new content. And that seems to be true more in Safari than anything else. And I have tried a lot of tricks to get it to not cache the page and all kinds of stuff. And for me, on Safari, I tend to have to refresh the browser page every time I update the content. That doesn't happen for me in Firefox. It doesn't happen for me in Google Chrome, but for some reason it happens in Safari. So if you go to a page, refresh the page to make sure you're looking at the most recent content. Anytime I change the content, I will post a news item and I will copy the news item and send it out as an email. Okay, so you should be able to trust that if there are changes to the course, that you'll be notified. Okay? Work required of students. I estimate that this is about 160 hours of work. Okay, in 16 weeks, that's about 10 hours a week. It's not going to be the same every week. There's going to be a lot of work on your project. And how fast your project goes and how much of your time it takes is going to depend on whether you're doing things that you do very fast or whether you're doing things maybe for the first time. Okay? It's also going to be, you're going to be doing this for a real client, and you may want to get a little more work done for that real client. And so there may be a lot of hours to put in. Okay? It's very satisfying work. That's about all I can say. We've got the readings. There'll be readings in the latent text that have to do with Agile project management. They're going to start in week 2. There are readings in the Chacon and Straub text that have to do with Git. They're going to start in week 2 as well. I'm going to have some supplementary resources for you to do some readings on. And for those, I'll put a link in the project schedule, in the weekly schedule. I recommend that you do these reading assignments before you watch the lectures and the tutorials that are assigned. I generally expect you to have already done the reading. Okay, that's the way I think you'll get the most out of it. In terms of recorded material, I am recording lectures like these and some tutorials on how to do something. So most of our tutorials will have to do with how to use Git and how to use Jira Agile. Okay. And you'll find them under the recordings section in the weekly schedule. Okay? Participation is a big thing, and in this course it counts for 15% of the final grade. That's really massive. Okay? So you really need to participate in this course to get the kind of grade that I know that you'd like to get. So there are a lot of opportunities to earn participation credit. Okay? One is these online office hours. Again, that's going to be an hour-long session every Thursday night. If you are one of the people who shows us their work, you'll get a generous participation credit. If you come and you speak, you'll get a participation credit for that. Okay? The people who have been part of this, I've been doing this now for 4 semesters, I guess, in various formats. So the people who have been part of this have always had something good to say about it. Okay, so please give it a try. They'll be posting to the forums. Okay, so let's see, there are 4 kinds of forum that you can post to. There's an introductions forum, so there's a post that you're going to make to that in week 1 where you introduce yourself. There's a project selection and team formation forum, and I have you making a post to that in week 1 as well. We'll probably make more posts to that forum as we go forward, as we work on refining our project selection and forming our team. There's an open discussion forum that is open for anybody to, to talk. This is like just speaking during class in a face-to-face class. Okay? There's a participation credit for that too. And there's going to be a form for each of the teams. Okay? Once we form our teams, we'll have a form for each of the teams, and you'll be able to post to that in order to collaborate with each other. For all those postings, you'll get participation credit. Okay? So, in my experience, not everybody participates in the same way, and that's fine. I mean, we're all different, okay? But typically, when I get to the end of the semester and I go through the participation credit, I'll find a couple of people who are hyper contributors. They've just, they've come to everything. They've talked, they've posted, they've done it all. They have outrageous kind of points in terms of participation credit. Then I've got a handful of people who have just been not playing. And the problem for them is they're not getting any participation credit at all. They're getting, the equivalent of a D or an F for participation. Most of the rest of the people are spread out in the middle. Okay? This is pretty easy to do. And the benefit is, one, that you earn some credit, but the other thing is that these are all things that improve your learning experience. So when you participate in these, it has a double payback. One more thing that we're going to have that you will get participation credit for are your team meetings. Okay, so you're going to be doing these at least once per week once our teams are formed. Okay, I'd say more than half of the teams in the online section tend to meet twice a week. Okay, and I'm going to have a form for one of you to fill out and hand in that will give the participants in that meeting credit for participation. Peer reviews. Okay. So a part of your participation credit is going to come from the reviews of your peers. Um, and at the end of the semester, I'm going to ask you to fill out a form on yourself and all of your teammates to really talk about what your contribution was. Okay, so that's going to impact a couple of things. One, it's going to impact your participation grade. Two is that if you're a non-participant, it could have an impact in your overall grade, and I'll talk about that when I get down there. Quizzes. I talked about these before in passing. Quizzes are going to be regular old D2L quizzes. For the most part, at this point, I think they're going to be on the latent text. Um, Historically, in the last 3 semesters, I had an exam on the latent text, and what I found is that people duck the reading until way too late. And so what I'm essentially doing is splitting up the exam into a bunch of quizzes to give you the incentive to read when you're supposed to read. Okay, probably be the same questions that I've always had. They're all information from the book. Okay. Um, you'll be allowed to make multiple attempts at each quiz. Grades will be based upon your most successful attempt. Each quiz will close at the week ending deadline. No attempts will be allowed after the week ending deadline. So, for instance, if you're going to get sick at the end of the week, okay, or if you're going to have some kind of family emergency at the end of the week, you do better to have done this quiz before the end of the week, okay? Because once the quiz closes and I've handed out the answers, well, um, everybody has to have taken it, okay? The next time we get together in online office hours, we'll go over the answers. Okay, skills practice assignments. Um, there are several skills that we're trying to learn. Some of them have to do with version control with Git. Okay, some of them are going to have to do with the um, uh, some are going to have to do with Agile project management, how to write a project vision statement, how to write a user story. Those kinds of things are things that we're going to practice, and you're going to hand them in. Okay. The other thing is we're probably going to have some practice having to do with Jira Agile. Okay. So the assignments are, for the most part, they're going to work like this. I'm going to have some instructions for the assignment and a grading rubric. Typically, I do a tutorial demo that you can watch before you do the assignment. And usually it's not the assignment itself, it's some kind of a parallel task. Okay, so it doesn't give away all the answers, but it demonstrates all the skills. Okay, and then when we get together the next time for our online office hours, I'm going to ask you guys to show, a couple of you, to show your solutions to the skills practice assignment. And to the extent that I've got something that's different, I'll show mine. Now, it's really important that you guys actually try this on your own before you see the solution and do all the struggling that is inherent with that. Because once you see the solutions to these things, well, of course they're easy. All right? What I want you to do is have the experience where you try to do it on your own first. So because of that, I have a kind of a standard deal on these skills practice assignments in most of my courses. Um, so here's the deal. Um, It rewards good faith effort, timely submission, and attention to detail. In order to demonstrate good faith effort, you must turn in work that shows you actually tried to do each part of the assignment. Okay? In order to demonstrate attention to detail, you must submit the proper number of files in the proper format with the proper naming conventions. And in order for it to be on time, you have to meet the weekend deadline or whatever other deadline that we have. So if you meet all three of those requirements, you'll get a minimum score of 85. If you got everything correct, you'll get 100. Okay. If you hand it in late, okay, you can't get more than 84, even if everything's perfect. Okay. Okay, I know from experience that you can only learn these kinds of skills by doing them, reviewing them, and asking questions. And so I set the system up to reward you for doing just that. There is a short time in which you can hand in things late. So up to 1 week from the week ending deadline, you can turn in a late assignment for skills practice. You won't score any more than 84. And if you turn it in more than a week later, you're not going to score anything at all. Okay? We really need you to get these things done so we can grade them. So how do you get your feedback from these? The primary feedback is going to be in the online office hours. Okay? So the best way to be part of that is to come to the online office hours and participate. If only to listen, okay? If you're unable to make that one, well, play the recording, okay? I'm going to post solutions during the week, okay? Whether they'll be posted exactly at the time that closes. I'll probably post the solutions right around the time that we do the online office hours. Okay, I'll put the solutions up. And then you'll have them to refer to too. Your secondary feedback will be the grading and comments that are going to be returned to you. Now, my TA for the course this semester is Holly Leto. Holly Leto took this course last year. Before she graduated. She's in the MSLIS program. And she was my TA for this course last spring, and now she's the TA again this fall. So she's going to be doing most of the grading and the feedback. And we hope to get things back in 2 to 3 weeks. Now, we have a lot of people in this course. I think we've got, between the two sections, we've got, well, certainly 50 people, somewhere between 50 and 70 people. So there are a lot of things to grade. But we're going to do our best. Okay? Now, when you get your feedback, you shouldn't be surprised because you've already seen the solutions. And you should have a good sense of whether you did it right or whether you did it wrong. Exactly what that's going to turn into in terms of a grade, well, you could be hoping for a couple of points here or there, but for the most part, you should know what's coming by the time you get your official feedback. The next thing I want to talk about is your team project, okay? And I'm going to talk about it a bit here, but I'm going to leave some of it because we're going to be talking about that in the Forming the Project Vision lecture, which you're going to be listening to soon, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. So what I'm going to try to do is to give you some highlights, okay? We're doing a project with approximately 4 people from the class, okay? 4 people from your section of the class. I try not to mix online section and face-to-face, because our schedules are a little different, and it just creates all kinds of problems. So you're going to find another three-ish people from your section. I don't like to go higher than 6 people on a project, and I don't like to go lower than about 3. Okay? And of course, bigger teams, we expect bigger projects from. All right? Um, in the first 1/3 of the semester, we're going to be finding a client, forming the vision for the project, and forming the project team. We're also going to be learning a lot of the stuff. So we're going to be learning about Agile project management. We're going to be learning about version control. We're going to be learning about Jira Agile. I'm going to be talking to you about testing. I'm going to be talking to you about documentation. We're doing a lot of things just to set expectations in the first third of the semester. And then for the last 2/3, you're going to be flat out doing Agile project development work. Okay? That's what it's all about. You're going to do it. Who are you going to do it for? You're going to do it for a real client. Okay? We'll talk about some more details about that in the next of the lectures, but the kind of organizations that we've had in the past, sometimes it's a business sometimes it's a business that the student has or a relative has. Okay. Um, uh, and but some of those are small business, some of them are medium sized. Sometimes it's some kind of club or not-for-profit that somebody in the class is involved with, or maybe somebody from their family is. Um, we've done some things for UWM departments. So we've had some people who work in a particular UWM department that needs some work, and so we do work for that department. We do all kinds of things. Okay. The key thing to remember is that we don't each have to find a project. Each group has to find a project. So if we all start to form ideas and we all start to collaborate with each other, we generally find even a few more projects than we can actually do. So it may seem challenging in the beginning, but we get it all done. What does the project have to do? Well, it's got to be more than a static website. Okay? If we were just going to do a static website, then you could have quit after the web development class. Or you could have quit after the web design class. Right? So we want to do more. Okay? Now, what do we want to do? Well, we want to have more than that. We want to, generally speaking, we want some kind of process going on in the solution that you are creating. So if this is a website, if this is just content that we're publishing, well, then it's got to have some kind of content management kind of capability. Okay? It just can't be static content. All right? The other thing that we can do is we can create some kind of a business records function. So, people get to buy something. People get to sign up for a service. They get to register for a newsletter. They get something that causes us to have to keep their data in a database, some kind of relational database, and do the typical CRUD processing: create, read, update, and delete. I encourage people to develop these things from scratch. And the way that we told you to develop things from scratch here at SOAS is to use the LAMP stack. Okay, that's Linux, Apache HTTP server, MySQL, and PHP. Now, some people have asked to use more pre-rolled content management solutions, and I've allowed them to do that with two caveats. One is, if you're using a pre-rolled content management solution, I'm expecting you to get up a lot more content. Okay? And the other thing is, I still need you to have some kind of database-like, or database in actuality, CRUD functionality. It just can't be content. We've got to have some processing. Okay? So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for there. And the rest of this kind of stuff we're going to talk about in the next lecture. So I think I'm going to leave that right there. Okay, let's go down to grading. The grading, I've already talked about. 15% of your grade is for your individual participation. And I gave a list of all the ways that you can earn credit for that. The quizzes and skills practice assignments that I talked about are going to be 35% of the grade. That's quite a bit, okay? And then the project itself, the deliverables that come out of the project, are going to count for half the grade, 50%. And the system itself will be 30%. The video that you do to present it will be 10%, and the written project report that you do on the project, okay, that'll be 10%. Okay, so big part of your grade. The note that you see on the bottom of the page here, it tells you got to participate, okay? If at the end of the project, I find out that you haven't participated, and how am I going to find out? Well, we do these peer evaluations. Well, if you haven't engaged with the team, then I can't give you the same grade that I gave everybody else. Okay, I've got to find some way to reduce it to reflect your contribution. And if your contribution is 0, then it's going to go down to 0. Okay, which is catastrophic. So anybody who's having a hard time engaging with the team or with the project, don't wait till the end, okay, to tell me that you got a problem. Come to me in the beginning, and I'll help you solve it. I have a list here about how I convert the number grades into letter grades. That's pretty standard stuff at SOAS. And then I have a whole list of very important policies that are the same on all of my syllabi. You might say they're boilerplate. Now this is kind of deceptive, because you would say, well, they're boilerplate. They can only be so important. Yeah, but they're all about really important stuff. So we have a standard way that we talk about really important stuff. Okay? So we talk about things like what to do if you have some kind of a disability, what to do if you have special religious observances, what to do if you get called to military duty, what's available in terms of incompletes. And I've got to tell you, the rules on incompletes at UWM are very strict. So people are only going to get incompletes if it's almost the end of the semester and they've got most of the work done, and they can't complete it for something that's clearly out of their control. So you can't count on, well, I could always ask for an incomplete. Okay, the policy there is pretty strict. Discriminatory conduct such as sexual harassment. We have expectations about the way we're collectively going to treat each other, and we're pretty serious about those kind of things. So if you're not familiar with the expectations, here's your chance to familiarize yourself. Um, Academic misconduct. Again, we want you to hand in your own work. We want you to do um, we want you to live up to the code of conduct here. We've got grade appeal procedures, which you should avail yourselves of if it's appropriate. And that's it. So again, um, all pretty standard stuff, but all important stuff. And so if you have an issue related to these things, um, let me know. Okay? If you have a question, let me know because it's important stuff. So that is the syllabus. I just want to say that this is a fun course for me. It's fun because we actually build real stuff for real people, and it's tremendously satisfying. And when we get to the end of a semester, there's usually just a lot of satisfaction and smiles all around. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have our hard times on the way there. Um, there may be times when teams have a conflict, or they don't know how to handle something, or they're overwhelmed by something. I mean, all kinds of things go wrong between the beginning and the end. But I'm here to help. And of course, the experience is we all get to the end. And there's something really powerful about this sort of agile approach to managing projects that really is well suited to the kind of project that we're doing and the kind of experience that you guys already have. And I think that's going to help you a lot too. So I'm really excited about the semester, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the weekly online office hours when you can make it. And meantime, you've got my email, you've got my number. Keep in touch. And with that, I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye bye.